Hello, everyone. Nura here. So, this is our weekly Friday Astro-Healing session. We look really at the transits, the current transits that we're working with right now. I wasn't here last week because I wasn't feeling very well, and I really am attributing that retrospectively to the fact that we just had a new Venus gate. So, that is simply when the moon and Venus conjunct, and she goes through a process when after she has her the Venus retrograde time, and she forms a new star point. We're working with the Venus star point in Capricorn since January of earlier this year, and then every subsequent Moon Venus conjunction that we have, she'll basically go through, starting at the crown chakra, through to the third eye, through all the way down through the chakras, and then back up through the chakras in a 19-month process. Hello, welcome. So, anyways, that's kind of like long story, super, super shortened. But basically, last Saturday, February 26th, we had a Venus moon conjunction. So, that's another way to say the Venus gate, and it's third eye. So some of you watching might feel this. And for me, it came across as like a massive, massive head cold, headache, like super, super migraine. And I never get those, like so, so rarely. And I was like, okay, here we go. Second gate. It's like clearing everything in relation to the third eye. And that includes, just having clear sight, and it's connected to the sinuses and things like that. So maybe you experience something like that. You can let me know in the comments if you did, or know somebody who did, or still are. I think you can kind of hear it in my voice. I'm on the upswing. So just having to give myself a lot of love. But thanks for joining me tonight. We actually have a couple weeks of recapitulation to go through since I wasn't here last week. So I'm not going to go through every single day, but I will go through sort of the big energies, the big, like the height of the energies that came through over the past couple weeks. And then we'll go through what's coming up next week, and then where we are to just, integrate in the present moment and present time. Yeah, I got a couple comments, people feeling exhausted, totally feeling it. Yeah, like so much here. It makes me feel so much better when I'm able to make a connection with something going on. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, Venus gate, clearing in my third eye. Cool. Like I'm less angry now that I had that horrible headache. Right? Or you're like, okay, it makes sense. So I'm saying it took a couple days to feel normal. And yeah. And then we also had the new moon. That was March 2nd. And I don't know about you, but that was like a new moon of like, it's like the Game of Thrones slogan, like the night is long and full of terror. Like that is how the new moon felt for me. It was rough, and I was still like pretty sick. And it's like I knew something was going to be coming through that was like deep, deep healing, deep like forgiveness level, deep cosmic womb level, because it's Pisces, right? And Pisces is this like cosmic everythingness, that where we kind of experience these really, really big experience, like big energies, big emotional energies. And then new moon, where you're kind of like, what's going on? What's happening? And so I really felt that. Um, just taking a moment to maybe tune in, if you want to grab your calendar, grab your journal, grab your phone. Sometimes I like to like write notes in the calendar of my phone of like, I felt like this today. And that's just helpful. And I'm kind of going back and doing my astro recapitulation work. I just want to see like what actually happened that day. So taking a look back at all the way back to, we could probably go back all the way to like February 20th and just recall that we very recently had a Pluto return in the United States. And things felt very different from then to now. And it's actually a really potent example. Like sometimes we're expecting transits to happen like the day of, like something really, really big, really, really major to happen the day of a transit. And it wasn't until a couple days after that, the what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia started to really, really come to a head after that USA Pluto return. And I'm linking it to the US particularly because I know there's big political engagement and around like the United States stance and like different countries taking stances and things like that. Like there's a big geopolitical, situation going on. And it's kind of like a perfect example of how, big explosive energies that you would expect to occur with a, Pluto return, like we're discussing with the, February 20th, 2022 Pluto return for the United States. It's like we're witnessing it now. Like we see it now. And that's really, really normal. Like usually whatever occurs on the actual date of the conjunction or the opposition, the square, whatever the transit, we tend to see it after the fact. At least a couple days after the fact, like in the case of the new moon, for example, like we just had the new moon March 2nd, and whatever was seated in that new moon space, we probably are just only now, like March 4th, maybe tomorrow, Saturday, March 5th, like starting to feel like, oh, okay, like I know what was going on, but I didn't at that time. And that's really, really normal. I tend to observe there's like a 3-day period where an aspect happens. And then like 3 days later, you'll start to really, really feel it. And I noticed that similarly too, if I'm doing a prayer or some sort of like I'm hoping for something, I'm doing intention setting, I'll notice like 3 days after the prayer is answered, or I'm seeing the manifestation of the intention that I was setting. That usually happens. So we're working with this fresh energy of Pluto return, and that's at 27 degrees Capricorn. So you might want to take a look at where that is in your chart. That can be a place of, experiencing a lot of transformation. And there can also be a lot of heaviness. There can be this reclaiming of power in a way, like everybody's going to experience this a little bit differently, but there's usually this like breakdown to breakthrough energy that we associate with Pluto. And so that was around February 20th. And then we had, just kind of going down my list here. Okay, yeah, I'm going to start back up with the new moon because I kind of want to get more into this current energy. So we had just this past week, March 2nd, the new moon in Pisces, that was at 12 degrees Pisces. Really, the energy here is big endings, big beginnings. Who else do you get to be in this space while we're sort of witnessing, like we are the caterpillar who just crawled into the chrysalis, and literally turning to mush in this in-between, this alchemical in-between time. Like there's this whole new version of self that's ready to step into this, who else do you get to be? It's a really, really big question. And I don't think you have to have the answer just today, right? Like this information is going to keep coming to you. If we actually look a little bit forward into the future, we are going to have, I believe it is March 5th. Yep, March 5th, tomorrow. We're going to have the Sun conjunct Jupiter at 14 degrees, 59 minutes Pisces. And so this is Sun, current life purpose, with Jupiter, how we are expanding, how we connect to our higher selves, the goals that we're setting, our sort of, how we are opening, what we are learning, and what we're learning from our higher self, but also from other teachers. Like there's a lot of teacher energy. And this could be like our spiritual teachers, our spirit guides. Like we are really being communicated with right now. And the Sun conjunct Jupiter energy that really expands over this weekend, I think it's about expanding truth and expanding global awareness. And then we're going to have Vesta. She's the goddess asteroid of sacred service and devotion. And she is going to be conjunct Pluto, who's still at that same degree point that he was for that February 20th USA Pluto return. So Vesta, the goddess asteroid of sacred service and devotion, is saying, okay, how can you put your energy, like put your devotional service energy into the realm of what's being transformed, what's being alchemized? It might also mean that we require a moment of rest, because sometimes Vesta can bring up the energy of needing to rest. It's like when we're working so hard, when we're doing all of this deep, sacred, transformational healing work, it's almost like we need to pause. Like we need to put everything on pause and just like let the inner work do what it's going to do. Let the inner work of our sacred service to our higher selves, to the divine within ourselves and to the divine within others, let that be able to happen without distraction. So that would really be, if I was to give advice or a suggestion over this weekend, is to allow the bigness of this Sun-Jupiter conjunction, and then the Vesta-Pluto conjunction, March 6th, really let it take place within you, and then just sit back and observe. Like, I don't know that there's something very specific that we have to do with it. We have to let it be seated within us. Let us be inside this chrysalis, turning into the mush. And then when it is time to be reborn, we'll know. When it is time to emerge from the chrysalis, we will know, and it will be obvious, and we will feel energized and revitalized. Because I don't know about you, like this last week has felt like I've been tired, and I've been just very, very contemplative. Pensive would be the word of the week for me. Maybe you can let me know what are the words that came up for you this past week, and where are you now? Like, there's so much to integrate. There's so much going on, and I think it's this Piscean awareness that's saying, slow down, let it come to you. It's okay not to know everything. It's okay not to have all the answers right now. And if you're like me and you're somebody who likes to have the answers, what can you lean into to trust that whatever you need to know, you will know it in perfect divine timing. You'll know what you need to know when you need to know it. What do you need to lean into yourself to find the patience, to find the faith, to find the trust, to really to be in that state? Okay, so coming up this week, and I noticed that I'm focusing a lot more on the future right now, and that's just where I'm at. But next week we also have the Moon conjunct Uranus, and this is happening on a monthly basis. And the Moon is our quickest moving celestial sphere to follow, right? We get to watch the Moon go through all 12 signs every month, and with this, we get to sort of observe the emotional qualities and how they're evolving, how they're changing. And so when the Moon is conjunct Uranus, this will also be March 6th. So Sunday is going to be a big day energetically. It's like, be prepared for something to crack open. Be prepared for some sort of mass liberation, mass awakening. And this could be in the collective, certainly, but also within yourself, because it's, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's like it's we're all, a microcosm and macrocosm of what's going on, of each other. And then March 6th, we also have Mercury in Aquarius square the nodes in Taurus, Scorpio. So I really see this as an opportunity to get to a middle ground, like get to a middle place in our minds where we can see all sides of the story. So on a collective level, this might look like opportunities for diplomatic, peacemaking, peacekeeping, maybe, right? Like there's always a potential for that, even if things seem really bleak. But in ourselves, like, how can we do our part to see as many sides of the story as we possibly can? Because Mercury square the nodes is saying, hey, there's a lot of angles to look at here. We want to look at the past. We want to let go of perhaps some of the limiting stories of the past. And then we also need to have this practicality when we're considering what's being built for the future. That's that North Node in Taurus. So there's a balance between the physical component of what we're building for the future and then the emotional component of our attachment to the past, our attachment to the way things have been before, our attachment to old stories. So there's a lot of this really bubbling up over this weekend. And that I've literally only talked about, tomorrow and Sunday so far, like the Sun conjunct Jupiter, the Vesta conjunct Pluto, Moon conjunct Uranus, and Mercury in Aquarius square. This is all happening between March 5th and 6th. So this is a lot of energy. So just again, drinking a lot of water is always a good idea. Taking a lot of rest as best you can, and letting what wants to move through you move through. We will also have the first quarter moon, March 10th of next week. And that will be at 19 degrees Gemini. So again, on a very, mercurial wavelength, Gemini is very much about how we're communicating. And the first quarter moon is when we start to see half of the moon lit up, this waxing first quarter moon. And I like to think about it, it's like it's halfway illuminated. That means we have about half of the information in our rational, logical mind to be able to reflect on. And so by that time, I really think you'll have a lot more awareness of what's going on, more than we have right now. We're going to have information next week that we don't have right now. And that can be a nice, tether, especially if you're in that place of like, oh, I wish I knew more. I wish I could understand more about what's going on. Okay, taking a look at some of the comments here. Jacqueline says, felt like you were always running this week. Oh, wow. I almost feel like a part of me is like, wow, I wish I could have run. I was like lying in bed most of the time early this week, but maybe in my mind I was always running. But yeah, like feeling stretched, really, really stretched, like it's busy. And it's like not only are we integrating and dealing with what's going on inside ourselves, but we're also processing on in the outer world. And a lot. I think that Pisces, which we're in right now, it brings the empath in us. So you might naturally identify with being an empath or a highly sensitive person, or you might not, but you might notice if you don't, that maybe you are feeling that way right now. And if you are naturally empathic and psychic and intuitive, that you almost feel like extra hard psychic and intuitive right now. There's a lot of support to do dream work at this time, and really just paying attention to your dreams. So as much as I always recommend, like, get a journal, write down at least where the moon is, at least where the sun is, get your apps. A really good app is Time Passages. I always recommend it to everybody, but you can also find things online. You can also ask me. Like I'm happy to tell you what's going on at any time. I do post things regularly because I feel like it's so important to know where we are in the cosmic time and space. But get some sort of grounding, some sort of tether on like, where are we in cosmic time and space right now? And then how am I feeling? Like, not from a place of like, oh, today the right now as we're speaking, right, the moon is in Aries, conjunct Chiron. So it's like, oh, today the moon is in Aries. I'm supposed to feel like this. No, not like that at all. It's like, today the moon is in Aries. Okay, I'm feeling, and look inside yourself and really make it about your own experience. And then afterwards, like if you have some astrological language, you can start to make those connections and start to formulate, an interpretation about what that means for you. But it's just a really good way to learn astrology and a really great way to stay connected to these constantly changing cosmic tides. Okay, so what we have going on. Oh yeah, how could I forget? March 13th, we're going to have the Sun conjunct Neptune. And so we actually will connect next Friday, March 11th, before that. But I did want to bring that into the sphere because that's the Sun Neptune conjunction. And we tend to feel these conjunctions. I mean, I'm already feeling it. I'm already feeling the Sun Jupiter conjunction as well. Like, I think we start to feel them a couple weeks beforehand and then especially afterwards. But we're already in the wheelhouse, this Sun Neptune conjunction energy. And similarly to the Sun Jupiter, slightly different, both Jupiter and Neptune are the planetary rulers of Pisces. So Jupiter is like the part of us that is expanding into a greater transcendent wisdom, expanding into oneness, expanding into unified consciousness, all of these kinds of things, or at least that's the potential. And then Neptune, on the other hand, is going to Neptune's going to ask you to do a little bit more shadow work, because Neptune has a little bit more of that, like, it's not all rainbow kittens when you start to do your spiritual work, it's like some of the work is very, very difficult. It's like the things that come up in your dreams and then processing them, the energies that come up in your meditations and processing them, and then looking at anywhere that you might be escaping or numbing out or in an energy of like an over attachment to something. Like the sun conjunct Neptune might bring up a lot of our fantasies that are being shattered. And that can sometimes be a hard truth because we tend to like our fantasies, right? Like we tend to like the things that we are wishing were real, right? And I definitely think there's a very important, beautiful place for imagination and storytelling and getting into the fantastical place of like, this is what I would like to create. This is what I would like the world to be, right? Like utopia. Like I want the world to be like this. And I think we never stop shooting for utopia. We never stop endeavoring towards that. But also there's this acceptance of what is. Matt Kahn, a spiritual teacher, he puts it really well. He says he has a few really amazing books, and one of them is around loving what is. It's like whatever arises, love that. Like that is Pisces wisdom, that we are all being asked to really expand in our consciousness to whatever way that we possibly can. And then just observing like, who do we get to become within all of that? What level of faith do we get to step into with that awareness, to trust that everything's in divine order, even if it seems like absolute chaos? How can we hold space for the seeming duality of immense suffering on one hand, immense pain, immense grief, immense horror, immense tragedy on one hand of everything, and on the other hand, there's so much beauty in life. There's so much creativity. There's so much love, right? So Pisces is asking us to really expand our bandwidth to be able to hold all of this and realize like that when we do, we can heal. We heal so much in ourselves and we become, the compassionate, we become understanding. We widen our vision to what is possible within ourselves and with the people that we're in relationship with around. So that's my absolute wish for everyone is to get to connect with that transcendent wisdom and beauty and love in a deeper way this week. And with everything that has gone on in the past couple weeks, especially relating to the Pluto return and just the Mars Venus conjunction in Capricorn as well. There's a lot coming together with like sacred union and balancing masculine, feminine in our lives. So what has come up in that way for you? Some journaling might be around, how am I embodying the sacred masculine right now, regardless of your gender? How am I embodying the sacred feminine right now? How can I bring them together into sacred union? And then some other journaling prompts with, the Sun Jupiter coming up, and then the Sun Neptune also coming up. Who do I get to expand into? Is there a more faithful, trusting, internally unified version of self that I get to step into right now that was really ignited around that new moon, March 2nd, new moon in Pisces, that we're still very much in the germinal phase of? There's still so much brewing beneath the surface, and we'll start to finally see the pieces, the reflections that start to come out around March 10th with the moon in Gemini, first quarter moon. Okay, so I hope that is clear. I hope that's helpful. Just to close, I'm going to share a couple cards, and then we'll just do a breathing practice together. And then I want to invite you to my friend Jacqueline's meditation. She's doing a meditation for peace tonight. And so hopefully she'll be able to, drop the links below and get you over there, which I think we could all use meditation for peace in this time. So stay tuned if that's really calling to you. But in asking what would be of highest service to the people who are watching in this community, I pulled the Star and the Six of Cups. And if you're familiar in any way with tarot, I mean, the Star is immensely bringing hope. There's hopefulness here, and there's a gift here. I think that is literally the gift. It's a gift of hope that's here for all of humanity. Sometimes we can look at the star as like literal, off planet being help that comes to help us out. But I feel like, you know, not wanting to get into um too deep down that rabbit hole, but I do believe that we are always helped. Like, we are always divinely guided. I view the planets as divine emissaries, as off planet beings who are helping us, along with our spirit guides. Like, there's something that wants to be poured into us right now, and we simply have to become receptive and receive it, and be in reverence for the process of how we're all collectively evolving right now, and really seeing it as a gift, and then asking yourself, like, maybe, are you this person? Are you this energy for somebody else? Are you the person bringing hope and being a gift to the people around you? There's so much beauty and love in these cards. So I was just so glad to see them. Okay. And so, just to take a minute to resettle the nervous system, there's a lot of talk, right? A lot of left brain logic, but perhaps just setting an intention within yourself, like, may I receive what I'm meant to receive in this moment from all the information that you just listened to. And you can always go back and re-listen, but how can I use this in a way that is most pertinent to my life at this time? And we'll just do a couple rounds of square breathing to regulate. So inhaling to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding the breath in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding it all out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that again. Inhale. Let's do it for 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it gets fun. Hold it in for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a nice, calm, slow exhale for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The hardest part, but so worth it. Hold it out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Open mouth. Exhale. Thank you for sharing this small space and time with me. I hope it serves you. And if you have any questions, feel free to share in the comments, or if you want to share anything about your experience, I'm also here for that as well. I'd love to hear what's going on with you and how you're experiencing these transits. And if you have any questions for upcoming live streams as well, I'm happy to include those things and answer your questions specifically. We'll be here again next Friday at 5:30 p.m. to 6. So nice, short and sweet. And I do want to bring your attention to an introduction to astrology workshop. And you can find that information at spiritandspark.com. And it's basically, the ABCs of how to read your chart. And it's really, it's a good class. I think we're all here to be astrologers in some way, shape, or form. All right. It's so good to spend this time with you. I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. And please go check out Jacqueline's meditation for peace. I know you will not be disappointed. Okay. Mwah. Happy Venus Day, and I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.